There are a number of types of ACLs that we can implement on our switches. We can do RACLs. Router-based access control lists are those that are applicable to our SVIs and our routed ports. Then we have what are called VACLs, VLAN access control lists, which allow us to filter within a VLAN. So traffic goes through the switch for a specific VLAN. We can say, you know what, I don't want that protocol to communicate. Maybe I don't want web traffic or telnet traffic between devices in the same VLAN. It's very possible. But what I want to talk to you about right now is something called a PACL, or Port Access List, or I like to call it a Port Access Control List. And a Port Access Control List is a layer 2 construct that is going to allow us to filter based on MAC address or IP address that we expect to find off of the port. So this is a powerful technology that we could use to prevent spoofing altogether. So we can say, I'm going to look and I'm going to see what MAC address you're communicating from, or what IP address you're communicating from. There are some protocols that we aren't filtering here: control traffic, CDP, VTP, DTP, S2P, ARP, multi-protocol label switching. We wouldn't expect to find that here, but that's the, there are some things that we're not going to be touching here. Now, with that in mind, let's look at an example so we can get our heads wrapped around what we're really doing, because we get a better sense of what these are by looking at an example. So I'm going to build in, if I'm following this example, I'm going to build a MAC PACL for this interface, and it's interface gig 2022. I do MAC access group simple MAC ACL in. So that's going to allow communication from a certain host, a certain MAC address, presumably. Let's look at the MAC ACL. We don't do these a lot, right? So this is pretty interesting stuff. And we can say that I'm going to permit traffic from this host, and that's the MAC address that I'm going to allow. Source first, destination anywhere, because it's an extended ACL. We do have the ability to control destination address as well. So now we know with certainty that that's the only MAC address that will communicate. Likewise, I could use the exact same type of element, a PACL, but one that's focused on IP. So whereas we did MAC access group, now we're going to do IP access group. So that's really the same syntax that we would expect to find on a RACL. And then I say simple IP ACL in, and this looks like a IP access list, doesn't it? Well, it is. And we're going to permit from that IP address. So that's the IP address that we expect to find off of that port. So you have the ability to utilize this feature to indicate exactly what MAC addresses or IP addresses live off of this port and can communicate. So we aren't stopping all communication, but we're, again, stopping the key communication, actual data traffic. We won't be stopping control traffic, ARP, MPLS, and protocols of that nature. But the data traffic, we are thwarting that. So it's going to be very hard to spoof a MAC address or an IP address in our infrastructure.